Thank you very much, Richard. Professor Zamani, please.
Thank you, Richard. I would like to know your opinion on the following point. It seems to me, not only to me, that today the major problem is that execution. In other words, the implementation. Because we have enough knowledge about the schemes and the strategies to be followed. The point is implementation. To this regard, it seems to me that an important distinction, which was a few years ago elaborated in the States and now spreads around, is between preparedness and readiness. That is the distinction upon which Riccardo Pozzo recently has written an important article. Preparedness means that a country, a nation, should be prepared in terms of provisions of masks, in terms of respiratories, etc., etc. But readiness is something different, means bringing this stuff to the bed of the injured people. Now, why the distinction is relevant? Because for the preparedness, the responsibility is on the shoulder of the government. But for the readiness, government or public entities can do very little. We have to mobilize civil society organization, which can be called in different ways or different names, etc. Now, it seems to me that there is still today a resistance to accept the implication of that distinction. So the case of Italy is clear-cut. We were prepared, but not ready. And people died because of that. Why is that so? Because, for instance, voluntary organization, and as you know, Italy is the top in Europe in terms of voluntary organization in proportion to the population. And we are not at all called, and they intervened post factum, not ex ante, at the moment when. So do you consider that this is a point which should deserve more attention? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very useful distinction between preparedness and readiness. I think it comes back to this concept of community, I think. And I do believe that the past 40 years, under extreme market-driven neoliberalism, has atomized many communities. We live in an extremely individualized world. If I just take my own field, for example, of medicine and public health, we've individualized risk to an extreme level now. 30, 40 years ago, people thought in much broader social terms. There was actually a discipline called social medicine. And the field of epidemiology has kind of stripped the social out of medicine. And that has meant that we have lost that sense of community, that sense of collectivity. And that was, of course, a big difference from the 1940s. In the 1940s, there was a real sense that collectivist approaches could solve many social problems. And we don't have that now. So the question is, how do we recover it? I am optimistic. I'm optimistic because I see a new generation of people who are with us who deeply care about issues that my generation came to too late. And of course, I'm talking about environmental destruction. So I think that there is a generational change taking place that does give an opportunity for creating community organizations, civil society responses that can improve the readiness of our societies in ways that my generation have failed to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Monsignor Sanchez Sorondo, please.
I want to ask if you know what is the reason that many countries and many governments put in this moment more money in take arms than in solve the question of the health of the people.
God. Oh, nice.
Not an easy question.
Yeah, nice.
Please,
easy
Richard,
question.
go on.
Nice, easy questions. Listen, if I had the solution to the global arms trade, then that would be wonderful, but I don't. I mean, you know, this is where, seriously, this is where nation states have an illusion of importance. There are transnational forces that shape flows of capital. I'm not the economist. You should be asking Jeff this. There are transnational forces that shape the flow of capital that are completely out of the hands of governments, and that means that there's no accountability, no political accountability whatsoever. And we've seen it this week, reported in the UK, the Pandora Papers. And it's really quite frightening to see the way that the mega wealthy are able to evade the laws that most people have to subscribe by. But listen, what I want, but in terms of, when I first read Pope Francis's Laudato Si, this is an inspiring document. It really is. And I'd never read a papal encyclical in my life before. It's the first one I've read, and I got his latest one already on its way to me.
Just yesterday, repeat the book the same. Just yesterday.
Right.
The crisis ecological is a great problem from the land, for the planet, and it's a kind of suicide. So
what I would dearly love to encourage your good selves in the Vatican to consider is, how could you build on Laudato Si to have a vision, a statement for the I don't want to say post-COVID, because I don't think there will be a post-COVID world, but the world that is in front of us now, because I do believe this document has had enormous power and force in the world, enormous. And I'm saying that I'm not a Catholic, and I'm telling you it's got enormous power and force. So I would dearly love to see Pope Francis and the Vatican Church take a step forward into the space that George Orwell and H.G. Wells stepped into.
You know that the Academy, your very famous Academy, Royal Academy, not take position about the question of climate change.
I know.
And our academicians are very traumatized, we can say, because what is the reason that it's the unique academy that not take position against to the government that take position? It's clear that Johnson also take many arms, not that is clear, but anyway.
Next time you have to come here, Richard.
I know. I've been on several occasions, and I will definitely come again.
To come in presence.
We are waiting for you. Alexander, please.
If I may. In our advocacy work, we as Europe patient, we are trying to influence European Parliament and French presidency. What is your expectation for European Parliament and French presidency in context of pandemic?
Right. Well, I think I've been listening to your meeting intermittently over the past 2 days when I can, and I've heard some critical comments about the European Union being made. And I understand where they come from, but I do believe this is a moment to not be quite so critical. I think we need to actually try and be optimistic about the prospects of countries working together. If we constantly criticize the European Union or WHO or the United Nations more broadly, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, those of us on this call, in this meeting, we believe in cooperation. We believe in solidarity. And if we start tearing down the very organizations and institutions that stand for solidarity and cooperation, who will be left to defend them? So I think, you know, it's the classic thing that people on the left of politics do. They destroy each other and leave the path open for people on the right. It's happened for decades and decades and decades.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. It is a very lucky circumstance that we have more material for discussion than time for discussion. I am sorry, but I
Sure.
think we have already to move on. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon and to continue this very interesting discussion
You
here
will.
in presence here in Rome.
Thank you.
And now.